So I welcome everybody on board and thank CII for organizing this wonderful webinar. And today's topic that we are going to discuss is on designing strategy for the future. So before we start, let me just introduce myself. I am Managing Director of Concept Business Excellence Private Limited. Group we are mainly consulting and training on business excellence, operational excellence across Gujarat. I am also Secretary of American Society for Quality Gujarat and a certified management consultant. I am also certified manager for quality and organization ASQ USA and certified business excellence award examiner with Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality Award. I was selected as a top 40 future voices of quality by American Society for Quality in 2011 and Cumpro level 3 certified qualitist. And I have done my courses on operational excellence, marketing management and strategy management from IIM Bangalore. So total, I have 22 years of consulting experience. So with whatever experience that I have, I am going to share that experience with you for today's session. Okay. So I am going to cover these topics today. The topic we are going to cover is myths about strategy. When it comes to strategy, many people have different, they have some misconceptions about strategy. So I'm going to discuss about that. The guru in the quality is Mr. Michael Porter. So I'm going to discuss about the view of Michael Porter on strategy. And also we are going to discuss about how to be unique. Dr. Michael Porter. And also how do you compete on cost and uniqueness. So these are two different ways of competing. And also we are going to discuss about resource-based view on quality, on strategy. And finally, what should be your strategy to compete actually. Okay, and then we are going to conclude the session. Okay, so let us go ahead. So just this is my one quote which I have just thought of today. Post this corona situation now, what I feel is that we all will not be able to go back to our normal. Industries now will not be able to go back to the normal. So what we are going back to is our new normal. That means every industry now will have to think about how the perspective for doing the business will change. So we have to discuss about the new normal. So we cannot go back to our past normal. Okay, so I mean that is most of the industries are affected. So when you are going back to a new normal, you have new thinking. So that time you can use this learning about strategy. These are what I am going to discuss today is about a basic fundamental of strategy actually. So in future, post-corona or maybe after that, when you are discussing about your organization, you can think about this new normal, this learning you can apply there wherever possible. Actually. So let us start with some of the myths about strategy. What people have misconceptions about strategy. And we as a consultant, when we discuss with many participants, many companies, what we find is that when we say what is the strategy, and what they say is that our strategy is that we want to be number one. This is what usually people say. This is what we on Michael Porter also has explained, that people respond like this only. Most of the time people say we want to be number one. Now, becoming number one is not actually strategy. This is not strategy actually. This is your aspiration. This is your goal. This is your dream, or this is your wish which you want actually. So this is actually not your strategy actually, because everybody can say that we want to be number one. Strategy is not about the goal. Strategy is not about the goal. It is also about the goal, but mainly it is how will you reach to that goal. So your method to reach to that goal, or your that is very important. So how will you reach to the goal? That is what is your strategy. The goal is of course very important, but your method to reach to the goal is also very important. Now the second misconception about strategy is this, that people say we want to reduce cost. Of course every organization say no, they will say that we want to reduce the cost. There is nothing new in that actually. So I mean, you are not doing anything different when you are saying that we want to reduce the cost. So when we say reducing the cost, what we are talking about is an action. So this is an action item. This is a task list actually, and this is not something which you have which you are doing out of the box actually. So this is again very normal for all the industries to say that we want to reduce the cost. The next myth about strategy is this. This is very common actually. Most of the people feel that strategy is only and only for the large organizations like all these IT companies and FMCG companies and all those companies which are very large. It is only for that. But we will also discuss today some case studies where I will show you that the organizations, small organizations or medium organizations also have a very good strategy. So in fact, strategy is for every organization. We are all doing it. It's not that we are not doing any strategic thinking. But every small or medium organization also has to think about strategy, not only large organizations. Next myth that we have about strategy is this, that it is only a one-time exercise. So I see many consultants, they tell you that you create your strategy and they create some workshops and some seminars and workshops, and they do this strategy workshops actually, and they say this is on. So this is not one time actually. Strategy has to be, of course, strategy has to be made for long term, but you have to review the strategy, you have to verify your strategy frequently. Uh, so that is what is important actually. So it's an ongoing process. So strategy design may be for the long term, but the strategy deployment or review has to be very frequently actually. So you have to review very frequently and see whether it is working or not and what needs to be modified. Okay. Now, this is another myth about strategy. So, copying the competition. I mean, most of the organizations are doing this, especially small and medium enterprises. They do this only. They say they are just copying their competition. And I've seen this very, often. For example, we were working as a consultant for some of the textile machine manufacturing companies in Surat. And this textile machine manufacturing companies, we have worked with 5 different textile machine manufacturing companies, and all these 5 companies, the bill of material was same, the color of the components also were the same, the dimension of the component was same, so everything was same. Almost, it is like the complete copy paste actually. For those of you who are from Vadodara, you must be familiar with these 2 mobile shops actually, SK and Jasmine. And what happens is this company actually, this SK Jasmine, you see their strategy is they are always next to each other actually. So wherever this SK Mobile opens a shop, next time after a few days, you will see Jasmine has opened a shop. Or wherever Jasmine has opened a shop, you will see after a few days that SK Mobile has opened a shop. So they are just head-to-head competing with each other. This is actually the worst strategy. There is, you will not actually in the long term benefit because of this, because you are just focusing on competition and heavily focusing on competition. In spite of, instead of this, if organizations focus on customer rather than competition, so they will be getting more benefit. Yeah, right. The amount of the focus these companies are giving on their competition, if they give equal importance or more importance to customer, maybe they will benefit a lot. So when you are just copying the competition, you are not thinking out of the box, and you are just trying to catch each other, and once you do something, then your next competitor also will do the same thing. So there is immediately they will copy actually. Okay. Another myth that we have about strategy is that strategy is only for FMCG company, that is fast moving consumer goods. So like Hindustan Liver or Britannia or Nestle. So these companies only can have a strategy. Now this is also wrong thinking. Strategy can be for all type of organizations. Even it can be also for B2B organizations also. So every type of organizations can have a strategy. I will today share a case study of a B2B company which has come out with a very unique and very different strategy to compete in today's world. The another and very, I think this is the most important slide of today's presentation, I would say. This is what is said by Michael Porter. Most of the organizations, when it comes to strategy, what they say is that strategy is deciding what to do. Now, strategy is actually not deciding what to do. Strategy is always deciding what not to do. I mean, this is extremely important. So you don't decide, you don't discuss what to do. You decide and you focus on what not to do. Because when most of the organizations, they try to ensure that we do everything that is possible when we are manufacturing or when we are providing a service actually. So, and that is very easy for to say, for example, today I can give my example. We are a consultant. When we started consulting business, we were also into certification business. So, certification like ISO and all that actually. So it is very easy for us to say that we are also doing ISO, we are also doing Lean and Six Sigma, and we are also doing strategy and business excellence and operational excellence and everything. But after some time, we decided we will not do this actually. So even though we will get the work, we will not do this activity because we don't want to brand ourselves as a ISO consultant. So we want to position ourselves very uniquely. We want to position ourselves very differently. So that is why we have changed now, and we say we have created a list of the services that we will not provide even if our customers want it. So what we did is we started diverting our customers to others actually, and even we started giving name and number of our competitors. They say we are not doing this. Our competitor is this person is doing this actually. Now we got a lot of benefit out of this because then our customers started asking us, then what are you doing? Then we said we are into now very strategic consulting, and then customers started they were curious to know what we are doing, and then we got a lot of business in that where we had a lot of margin also. So remember this thing, you don't decide what to do, you decide always what not to do. So when you are designing your strategy, create a list of the things that you will not do. And that is very difficult sometimes, it is very difficult to say that what is it that we will not do. I mean, then you will have to decide what our competitor is doing, we will not do. If our competitor is doing this, we will not do. So then, you have to have some kind of, I would say, trade-off. So when I say trade-off means you have to compromise on certain things at the expense of others. So for example, even if you are, let me give you one example. So you all must be knowing about IKEA. Okay, so IKEA is into furniture manufacturing in Europe, for example, furniture business. And if you see IKEA, the business model is totally different than others. Sorry. The business model is totally different than others actually. So IKEA has, they have a modular furniture concept. So modular furniture concept, they don't customize the furniture. The furniture is standardized. They have large showrooms where the customers will go. They will, so like for example, if you want furniture for a drawing room, then you will have entire drawing room set up for you, and then you see, and then you identify. once you decide to purchase, they will pack the furniture and then you take the furniture at your home and you assemble the furniture on your own. So, and they give you a manual on how to assemble the furniture. Now, this is what usually the customer also may not be used to this actually. Now, there may be customers who will say, we don't like this idea. We cannot assemble this at home. Or there are customers who can say that, I mean, it is, we want to have a customized furniture for our home. Then IKEA will say, then we are not for you. So you just understand one thing, they are compromising on certain set of customers, and because that is not their target. So they want to position themselves very differently than others. Now today, if you see, it is very difficult to, for others, competitors to copy IKEA, because most of the competitors will say we will give you customized furniture, we will come and install the furniture for you, which IKEA is not doing actually. Okay, so this is just one example of deciding what not to do. Okay. Now, also sometimes people say strategy is only product innovation. Now, see, most of the time organizations are just focusing on product innovation. I mean, product innovation, of course, is very important. You have to come out with different products, but at the same time, the organizations have to understand that you don't not only have to innovate the product, but you have to innovate the way you deliver the product. So even there also you can have a strategy actually. So not only about the product, but the way product is delivered to the customer. So for example, let's say I'm just giving one very simple example for you to understand. Let's say if we talk about books, okay. So in the books we have two examples. One is called Kindle. So it is nothing. The product is not new, but the way the product is delivered to the customer is different. It is in a digital form. I mean, today also it is very difficult to find out an extreme, competition to Kindle actually. Okay. The another example is there is a company which is not so popular in India, but they have started uh, espresso book machine. So what happens is you get a traditional paper book actually, paper book, but you go to that shop, and when you go to that shop, you order for your book, and the digital print is there, and they will give a command, and the entire book will be compiled, printed and compiled and given to you as if you are purchasing it from a normal bookshop. So you get a physical book, but then there is no inventory. There are different ways of delivering the product. See, the product is not different, but the way you deliver the product is different. So you have to see in the entire value chain where can we, apart from product also, where can we come out with some different innovative ideas. The next thing is again very common to most of the industries. Most of course nowadays it is not applicable. This is going to change. But many companies think because we are growing, we don't need strategy. I mean, that is also very. It's not like that actually. If you are growing, you must know the factors that are contributing for your growth, and also you must know how the factors are going to change in the future and how will you keep the competition. And one of the most important thing when you say, sometimes we also call, or strategists also call, growth trap. Now this is a very important word actually. So growth trap means you are trapped in a growth actually. So sometimes we have seen many organizations in our day-to-day life also, where they grow, and because of their growth they are not able to manage, and then they collapse actually. So we have I mean many examples today to discuss about this actually. So just blindly following the growth, and then they are not able to manage the growth, and then the entire business is going downwards actually. Okay. So we have many examples. If we see, I know in India, Videocon, we have example of many other companies actually. So they have grown to some level, and then they are not able to manage the growth actually, and then they are going down actually. Okay. Then another misconception is that strategy is only about designing. So of course, designing the strategy or on the paper is very important, but one of the most important thing is execution, because most of the organizations have a good strategy. I mean, some of the one example is very famous example is Kodak. Now Kodak actually invented digital camera, and even though they invented digital camera, they did not get any benefit out of that. Why? There was no execution actually. There was no thinking on how to execute that particular strategy. So in their lab, in their R&D, they have done proper designing of the camera very successfully, but the execution was poor actually. So strategy is mainly on design and also deployment. Now let us discuss about how Michael Porter, who is a quality guru, I mean, sorry, not quality, but strategy guru in Harvard University, he defines quality. So Michael Porter says they are, this is his view. We will also discuss about the other views also. Okay, so Michael Porter's view is this. He says strategy is all about being unique, competing to be unique. So you identify yourself or your organization as a unique organization. Now, when we say unique, it is not in terms of only product, okay? Not only product, okay? You have to be unique in many other ways, actually, okay? So that is what is the definition of Michael Porter. So he says that it is all about long-term choices that will distinguish yourself from your competition. And these are some choices that you make, which are for the long term. And in that choices, you decide that we will not do this and this and this in order to compete. So you create a list of the things that you will not do, and then you will decide how we will distinguish ourselves from the competition. Okay, so this is a distinctive approach to compete and create a competitive advantage. And a few examples that Dr. Michael Porter has given in his book is one of the case studies given is of IKEA. The another case study that he has given is, of course, in USA is Southwest Airline. And there are many other examples he has shared. So if you see all these companies, Southwest Airline or IKEA, they have come out with they have made a very long-term choices and to distinguish themselves from the competition and to create a competitive advantage. And this competitive advantage, what Michael Porter used to say is that this advantage that you create will in the long term will create a fit for your organization. So fit means there is a unique combination of the resources and all the systems and strategic thinking. This fit, I mean, this fit means this is a unique combination which is very difficult for your competitors to compete. So for example, like in USA, when I talk about Southwest Airlines, Southwest Airlines never operates in a big airport, and even if they operate in a big city, they will operate at a smaller airports. And their model of operating is not a hub and spoke model. So usually in airline industries, they have hub and spoke model. So hub and spoke means you have a large city from where you will have large aircraft which will go to the smaller cities. Okay, and Southwest Airline is not following this traditional model. What they are following is mostly, if you see in India, this is copied by Indigo. So they are having usually point-to-point services. So they only have small aircrafts and they provide the services only into small cities, and also in the small cities they will. So this model is called point-to-point model. Now, when other airline companies tried to copy Southwest Airline, they all failed because it is very difficult for them to change their customers' perspective. Now, for example, in Southwest Airlines, if you have ever visited USA, you don't get a seat number. So they don't give you seat number. They say because if we give you seat number, we will be taking more time on onboarding the passengers. And if we take more time on onboarding the passengers, we will not be competitive. So they don't give you seat number. So though they are now again there is a trade-off. So trade-off is if the customer wants seat number, he cannot travel to Southwest Airlines. Now this is very difficult for their competitors to copy because their competitors they say we will give you all the luxury, we will give you all the VIP waiting lounge and all the stuff. Southwest is not giving anything of that. So their customers, their competitors' customers, if their competitor says we will not give you seat number, then the customers will be very annoyed. They will say, "What is this? Till now you were treating us well, now you are not treating us well." But whereas in Southwest Airline, that is the perspective of the customer. So I will share three case studies very quickly with you. One of the case study which is very important and very I like very much is about this Rivigo case study, and also we will discuss about just Bajaj in afterwards. So let me just first show you the case study of Rivigo. Okay. Now Rivigo is a new company. I think it started 3 years back, and this company is into surface transport. Now what used to happen in surface transport industry is this, that if let's say for example if the truck has to go from Delhi, let's say all the way to Bangalore, then what they will do is there will be one truck driver and there will be one cleaner which will be assigned to that truck, and these two people will take this truck and deliver the goods from Delhi to Bangalore. So you will have one driver and one helper. Okay. Now what happens is because the driver has a fatigue level, so he will have to take a rest, and he will have to also do some other activities, his routine activities. So when Rivigo before they started, they analyzed that what percentage of time the truck is moving, and what he found is that the truck was moving only out of 24 hours, the truck was only moving for 8 hours. That means that for rest of the time the truck was not moving. Why? Because there is only one driver, and this one driver cannot he has a limitation. So he has to take rest, he has to do other activities, so he cannot drive more than 8 hours. So Rivigo came out with a concept of a relay model. So they have a relay model actually, and they have multiple drivers, okay, instead of one driver. So how they operate is like this. So let's say the truck has left from Delhi, then in case of Rivigo, usually I'm just saying as an example, usually the truck driver who will take the truck will only drive for 4 hours. And after 4 hours, the truck driver goes back to his home. Okay. And at this point, there is another driver who will board on the truck, and he will take the truck to the next point. Okay. And again, that driver also will drive for 4 hours. So this is called a relay system. Okay. So this is called a relay system actually. Now what is happening because of this is that the most of the time the truck is moving. So in case of Rivigo, the truck is moving 22 hours out of 24 hours. Okay. So they are able to reach to the destination faster than their competitors. They are able to deliver the goods, especially if the goods are, for example, perishable goods, where it is either fruit or vegetables or milk products or something like that, some critical pharma products which requires a very controlled conditions. Then again, it becomes very important actually. Now, what is happening here is the truck drivers are also happy because the truck driver is only doing a duty for 8 hours. And when the truck driver goes from Delhi to Bangalore, for example, in a previous their competitor, when the truck driver returns, it is almost 21 days. So the truck driver's life is also miserable because he will be able to go back to his home after 21 days. So his family and everything is disturbed. Now, in case of Rivigo, the driver is able to go back 8 hours within 8 hours. So the drivers will change. Here you can see this. The driver will change at every 200 to 250 kilometers. This is having a record unbreaking, uninterrupted run of around 1,000 kilometers per day, whereas their competitors are only able to drive, around 300 kilometers a day. This is their competitor. And you see here now how the truck drivers are getting changed at different locations. Okay. So one most important thing, the truck drivers return home the same day, and against 25 to 20 to 25 days. Okay, so this is actually changing the lifestyle of the truck drivers also. Okay, so this is the statistics. If you see, the Rivigo is able to drive for 22 to 23 hours in 20, out of 24 hours. Their competitors are only able to run the truck for 8 to 10 hours. Okay. The distance that Rivigo covers is 1,000 kilometers per day, and their competitors they only are able to cover 300 kilometers. Now, what happens is Rivigo has also strategically decided some pit shops. They have tied up with some garages, or they have their own pit shops where these 2 hours or 1 hour or 2 hours, whatever is available out of these 24 hours, also is used for doing the repair and maintenance of the truck. Okay, so repair and maintenance of the truck, so the equipment condition can be maintained, and then they are using a lot of technology also. This is a very good case study actually. So Rivigo, let's say this is their statistics. The transit time is reduced by 50 to 70%. If they have to go from Bangalore to Delhi, they will only take 60 hours against their competitors 130 hours. And these are all for different other cities also. You can see this. So very, almost 50 to 70% less time than their competitors. So this is a very simple idea, very unique idea which they have come out with actually. Now, as a result, what is happening is there are a lot of benefits to their customers also, because their customers are also able to rotate the money very fast and invest less in the goods actually. So their customers who were keeping inventory earlier, like more inventory, once they have engaged the Rivigo, they have to also keep less inventory of the material. Okay, so these are some of the benefits which Rivigo is passing on to their customers. Okay. And as I told you, especially in the case of the products which requires shelf life, then they have a lot of other advantages also, because their shelf life will increase, the spoilage will be minimum, and they will be able to deliver the best quality products to their customers. Okay, so these are all additional benefits. And Rivigo has a unique mobile app where they can track everything, the truck's driver's movement, whether the next driver has come or not, when the next driver has to go. They also monitor the temperature in the containers. They have also other IoT-based devices where they monitor a lot of critical parameters of the truck. For example, whether the fuel is there or not, and GPS location of the truck, and also so a lot of other critical reliability point of view, whether the condition of the truck is good or not. So all those information they get, so they can control everything from remotely to a mobile app. Okay. So this is one case study which I wanted to share with all of you. And now I'm going to show you how organizations change their strategy over a period of time and change their positioning over a period of time. So this is some of the screenshots I have taken from this advertisement of Bajaj. They had this advertisement called Hamara Bajaj. So if you hope you can remember this advertisement, and you can see in this, I've just taken some few snapshot of this old advertisement because I cannot show you video at present because it takes a lot of bandwidth. So here you can see this one person is doing a jogging, and his friend is there on the scooter. Here a father is helping her daughter to purchase balloon. Here this villager is driving the scooter and to deliver the milk. Again here a grandfather is is taking her grandson or granddaughter for a walk. And here you can see the typical one Indian person, is ensuring that his scooter is clean, and then there is a puja is performed on the scooter. So all in all, if you see what the advertisement, this tells us what is the positioning of this company, and what is the target of this company. So in case of Hamara Bajaj, you can see the target. The target is the family members. The target is family, and their main theme was, if you see, it was value for money. That was the main theme. And this is a family vehicle. So that is why the punchline was also Hamara Bajaj. So Hamara means for the family. Okay. Now, if you see current advertisement of Bajaj, then this is totally different. Now, this is a recent, now of course, the scooters are very less. Now they are more into bikes. And if you see, the title has changed now. Now the title is not Hamara Bajaj. Now the title is distinctly ahead. And you see this advertisement screenshots, and there are some youngsters are doing some stunts with the bike, and this is what you can see. So you can imagine now who is the target audience. The target is not actually family. This is not family. This is actually young people. Okay. And when Bajaj had to compete with the Hero, which was their very very immediate competitor, they thought how we will compete with Hero, and Bajaj decided that we will position ourselves as a technology and as a thrill in the bike actually. So this is how we are going to position ourselves. So if anybody who is thinking about thrill, any young person who is thinking about technology, then they are our target segment actually. So they totally position themselves now differently. Okay, so now I will just take you through this view of Michael Porter, where Michael Porter says he did a study. He said, why are some companies profitable than others? And Michael Porter, when he did the study, he found that there are some companies, the type of industry. There are some type of industry which are attractive, and there are some type of industry. So that means the industry segment itself is either attractive or not attractive. So he said, first of all, your organization has to understand whether how is your industry segment. So when he did the study, for example, what he found was this. This you can also relate nowadays actually. See, they say these are all different sector of industry. Say here health technology industry. Let's say here there is a consumable durable, that is AC, fridge, and TV, and all those kind of things. This is the profit margin. So this is the net margin of the industries. So you see health industry is a health technology. So health technology is now, say for example, these ventilators and things which are nowadays required in this case of corona. Those one of our client is manufacturing heart stent. So those technology, health technology industries will have, they have on an average, the industry itself is very profitable, and they have around 20% of the profit margin. Okay. Now, so compared to that, if you see the average industry margin of consumable durable goods, then this is only 6%. Okay. So which means that industry to the segment of the industry, it is not because of the industry, it is because of the segment in which they are operating. That segment itself is either profitable or not profitable. Now, what can happen if we further go in deep into this health technology, or let's say consumable consumer durable goods actually, if we deep dive into that, then within that industry also there will be different companies competing at a different profit margin. So let's say if this is consumer durables. So like within consumer durable, let's say company A will have more profit margin, and company Q can have less profit margin. So again, it all depends on within the industry also, but average industry margin is 20% for it. But within, it is not 20% for everybody. So for different companies, you can see that there is a profit margin is different. So this is what was studied by Dr. Michael Porter. And he said, why is it so? So he said, for any industry, there are five forces, forces which determines whether the industry in which you are operating is attractive or is not attractive. So whether your industry is attractive, yes or no, yes or no, that is determined based on these five forces. Okay, so let us understand what are these five forces. Okay, now the first force, Dr. Michael Porter said, is the bargaining power of suppliers. So if you are in an industry, who is powerful? You are powerful or your supplier is powerful? Let's say you are supplying to, you are purchasing some goods from somebody, and if your suppliers are big, your suppliers are large. Let's say if somebody is processing, they are into plastic manufacturing and they are dependent on companies like Reliance. The bargaining power of Reliance is more than your bargaining power. So that is called bargaining power of the suppliers. And this can be vice versa also. So some places your suppliers may have a less bargaining power. If you are procuring, giving work for job work to a small vendor, he may not be having that bargaining power if you are engineering company, for example. Now the next force which is very much applicable is called bargaining power of your buyers and your customers. How many number of customers, size of the customers, and differentiations and price sensitivity. Again, where have you positioned yourself? So who is powerful? You are powerful or your customers are powerful? Who has more bargaining power? For example, if you are supplying your goods to automobile industries, you are supplying to automobile companies, then they have a lot of bargaining power. They dictate the terms and they will say, we also need the cost sheet and everything. And so they will dictate a lot of terms with you because their industry itself is competitive and they are all large producers. And for them, you are a small supplier actually. So their bargaining power is very high. Similarly, in some cases, the bargaining power of the supplier buyer can be less also. For example, let's say I'm giving example of a diamond industry in Surat where we have worked actually. The bargaining power of supplier. If I talk about bargaining power of the supplier, the only 5 mines in the world, they have 70% diamonds, rough diamond. It is it's a reverse actually. In diamond industry, the supplier is deciding whom to give. Supplier has so much power that they will decide. They have already approved their customers. Forget about approving the suppliers. They have approved their customers. They say we will only give our material to this customer, not to others. So this is what is called bargaining power of the supplier and bargaining power of buyer. The next force which is applicable to your industry is called threat of new entrant. How easy it is for your competitors to start your business. So this is what you have to think. If your business is very easy to imitate, very easy to copy, or your brand image also, if you have created over a period of time, if it is easy or difficult to copy. So how easy for your competitor to enter into your business? So that is called threat of new entrant. So this is also in one force. The fourth force is called threat of substitute products and services. For example, today if you are doing something, nowadays we are saying that this 3D printing is increasing. Okay. In fact, nowadays they don't call it 3D printing also, they call it additive manufacturing. Okay. So let's say, for example, if your company is manufacturing components with plastic injection molding, which can be replaced by 3D printing, then that is called a substitute product or technology. So in your industry also, how your product can be replaced. Say, for example, I know in automobile industry, for example, there were copper brass radiators were used. So in Vadodara, we have this company called Standard Radiator and all those companies, Banco. So when copper brass radiators, the entire technology became obsolete because there was a substitute products with aluminum radiator in the automobile. Now, if you have to manufacture automobile aluminum radiator, you should have a plant of aluminum extrusion. So in that case, Banco had an advantage because Banco had this aluminum extrusion plant already actually. And for standard radiator, they had to set up a new plant actually. So this is called a threat of substitute products. And the fifth force, which is very much we all are aware, is called rivalry among the competitors. So how your competitors are competing with each other, who is showing more power, who is showing less power, who is more resilient. So these are some of the factors. And these are very important factors actually. How your competitors are hungry for growth, how your and what kind of strategy they are forcing, and how much you can bear the competition actually. And also the switching cost. Sometimes for a customer, it is very easy to switch. I mean, yesterday we were discussing with a cosmetic product manufacturing company of Vadodara, one of the company in Vadodara. They say now the customers are switching very easily. If they don't find the product, they will go to another product. Okay, so I will just in last few minutes, I will go to some of the, again, some few important topics. So one is if you want to have a strategy, now there is also called a resource-based view in the strategy. So resource-based view means how are you exploiting the resources that you have. Now, if you see resources in any organization, there are two types. One is called tangible, another is called intangible resources. Now, your tangible resources are all visible resources. Visible resources in terms of like if you have machine, you have technology, all those things are visible to your competitor. Even finance is also called visible resources. So these are all visible resources that you have, building and everything. Okay, now what are invisible resources? So invisible resources is your brand name, okay, then your culture in the organization, the system you follow in your organization, processes that you follow in your organization. These are all invisible resources. Now you see these visible resources, it is very easy for your competition to copy. You visit one exhibition, industry exhibition, and you know what your competitor is doing. Okay. Intangible resources are very difficult for your competition to copy. So while most of the organizations are focusing on improving their technology and machines and other things, financial capacity, they have to equally focus on building the brand, building the culture in the organization, system and processes, because this is not easily imitable by your competition. So if you have a resources, then the first thing is that your resource has to be a valuable resource, which means it's a really valuable resource. So you purchase some technology or some purchase some machinery or something like that. It has to be really valuable. If it is valuable, then again the next thing is that it has to be very rare. That means not easily available resources. Okay. If that is the resource, then it's a good resource. Okay. And then the third question is if your resource is valuable, rare, then it should be also inimitable. Inimitable meaning it is very difficult for your competition to copy. And then lastly, it has to be, if it has to be organized. That means it has to be used properly. So then only we will say you have a sustained competitive advantage. So many companies I have seen, they have valuable resources, but they don't understand this, and they have never thought of these resources because they only think of resources in terms of machinery and technology only. So here we are also talking about intangible resources like your system and processes and all those, which are very difficult for your competition to copy. So if your resource is not valuable, it is called competitive disadvantage. If your resource is valuable but not rare, then it is called competitive parity. Okay. If your resource is valuable, rare, but it is not inimitable, then it is only a temporary advantage to you, because it is only a matter of time when your competitor will have the same technology or same kind of system and processes. And lastly, if you have a resources and it is not organized, then you have an unused competitive advantage. So this is called VRIO analysis in strategy. Now this is another study done by Michael Porter, and Michael Porter did a study that who makes more profit, companies with large market share, or the company with a least market share, or the companies in between these two. And what Michael Porter found was this, that the companies with a large market share, the profit margin is good. The companies with the least market share, the profit is good. The problem is only with the companies who are in between these two actually. So those companies are struggling actually. Now, another view of strategies, which is a traditional method, which where we say we have to compete on cost. So we have to become a cost leadership. So you are always competing on cost. So you will always try to reduce the cost to compete. And then you, as a Michael Porter views, we say that you have to compete on differentiation. You come out with different products, different services, and different way to deliver the products. So these are the two traditional methods to compete actually. Now again, if we see, we have two kind of market. One is called broad market. So broad market means we are providing our products and services to a large market actually. And we are competing on cost. So that is combination number one. And then we are competing on broad market and we are competing on differentiation. So that is the second combination. Then we are competing on narrow market. Narrow market means we are not focusing on supplying our products and services to everybody, but only a few very niche market actually, very specific market. And there also we can compete on cost, and there also we can compete on differentiation. So we have total 4 different kind of, I would say, methods to compete. Now let me give you example. So let's say, for example, Tata Group of companies, they have hotels, okay? And a Tata Group of companies have 4 different brands. So one brand is, Ginger. And Ginger falls in this category. It is broad market. This is present in every city. They are competing on cost. So the cost in Ginger is very less actually, and the segment is different. The Tata Group of companies also has another hotel which is called Taj Group of Hotels. Now Taj Group of hotel is not everywhere, very few places only. So the market is narrow, and what they are competing is on differentiation. Similarly, if you see Tata Group of companies as Vivint and Gateway. So again, Viventa is mainly found in tourist places. Gateway is found for business people. So these are all different different places. Tata Group of companies have positioned themselves in a different way actually. Okay. So same thing, I have given example of this car manufacturing company. So Maruti is a broad cost leader. Mahindra is a broad differentiator. Jeep is a focused differentiation, and then Datsun company, which is a narrow because they don't have many models, and this is a focused cost leader. Okay. If you take about retail companies, then also you will see here like DMart is a broad cost leader. Spencer is a broad differentiator. Spire and Masala of Vadodara is very specific product, only present in few this thing. So this is a differentiation, and also in a narrow market they are operating. Bansal Superstore in Vadodara, so narrow and cost leadership model. Okay. So these are 4 ways of competing in the industry. Now, if you see average industries, this gray portion is the cost to manufacture, and this is your profit margin. Okay, so this is your profit margin. If you are a cost leader, if you say no, we will only compete on cost, then your cost to manufacture has to be less than average industry. Okay, so you have to see how you can reduce this cost, okay, here, and so that you can maintain your profit. Okay. If you are a differentiator, maybe your cost can be high, no problem. Okay, but then you will position yourself such a way that you are able to get more margin from the market because of the differentiation. So based on, you have to understand what is the average cost and where are you competing. Are you competing on cost, or are you competing on differentiation, or you are competing on both? If you are a cost leader, then you have to have few things. Very important. You should have economy of scale. You must have economy of scale in order to become a cost leader. If you don't have compete for the long term. The another thing, if you are a cost leader in your new company, then you should be able to bear the startup loss. So you all know, what happened to this Reliance Geo. So Reliance Geo has when they wanted to start their business, in order to increase the market share and to get the economy of the scale, what they did was they bear some startup losses actually, okay, and they had a capacity to do so. Then creating efficient organizational system and structures. Here I would like to give in India the best example for a cost leader company in India is a Birla group of companies. I have personally visited Birla group of companies. I visited Ultratech Cement and I have been a part of their assessment. And in Birla group of companies, if anyone who is familiar with Birla group of companies, they have a report called Padta report. Because they are Marwadi, they have this, Marwadi, they say, kitne mein padta hai. So this is also, they still have this actually. This is called Padta report. So Padta report is a cost report, cost sheet. And the department head, HOD, all HODs when I visited their cement plant, all HOD used to get what is their department cost every hour. Every hour the department head used to get what is the cost of his or her department, and they have a target cost, and whatever is the variation they have to discuss with the management. So this is the emphasis this company is giving to cost. So the system, and if you want to be cost leader, your system and structure has to support that. So you should have a very tight control on cost and overheads. Okay. If you want to compete on differentiation, then you should have definitely a very strong innovation orientation. That means your R&D team or research and development team or whatever designing team has to be very powerful. Okay, you should really recruit good brains, and this entire department or function has to work very efficiently. So that is what I mean by innovation orientation. This is in terms of products. But at the same time, you should also have an innovation orientation for other activities also in your organization. If you want to become a differentiator, then you have to have a good risk appetite. So good risk appetite meaning you should be able to take risk. If you want to innovate, you have to accept that there can be mistakes in the innovation. Okay. So if you want to innovate, you will have to have good risk appetite. What percentage of your money, of your turnover or profit you are spending in innovation? So that you must be clear on that actually. Okay, so then we have minimum time to from concept to market. Now this is very important. See, today we are all struggling to come out with this vaccine for COVID-19. Why? Because this concept to launch time is very. They say 1 year it will take to come out. Now they are also trying to expedite this process. So the concept to market time has to be very short actually. So if you're the moment you have an idea and then you will just launch the product, so this time has to be very short actually. So this has to be very short as possible. So you have to work on those system and processes. And another thing is you have to understand the needs and behavior of your customers very rapidly. I mean, one thing which will happen post this corona thing, which I just read today from McKinsey head, is that the customer behavior is also going to change after corona. So the customers' behavior, even retail or even business customers, their behavior is going to change. It will not be the same again. So you have to understand what is going to be the customer's needs. And of course you have to find the gap in the supply and demand need. So I gave you example of this Rivigo, which is a very good example, where they are saying they have found out the gap in the existing supply and demand actually. So you are a business also, you have to also find out what is the gap, that we can fill in the market if you want to become a differentiator. So these are some last slide actually. So these are some of the companies which I found very good in having a good strategy. For example, so one of the company in India is called Byju's Learning App, very unique product and services they have come out with in India we have a lot of this education industry is very big, and so they have come out with this self-paced video, very innovative, very different videos they have created, very user friendly, so students can learn at home. Daily Hunt nowadays everybody is using, so they have changed the way the news is delivered to the customer actually. The Lenskart in India, if you see, this is not only online. This is not only online, but you have also shops of Lenskart. So you can go to the shop and also you will get the spec. You can touch and feel also. It's a brick and mortar also, and also it is online. So it's a combination which is very unique. Rivigo I have already discussed. Quickkill, the security in India, very unique software they have for antivirus software. Almost you find all these companies there is very less competition actually. Agrawal Movers and Packers, Ultratech Cement is the example of cost leader. Book My Show, Roger, this you must have seen. This is a Rajkot based company actually in Gujarat. This company has I like very much because their strategy is extremely different, because they are selling car accessories, but the way they sell the car accessories is very different. Usually you find that car accessories showrooms are in the city, whereas Roger, what they have done is they have put all the car accessory showrooms on the highway. And also not all products, they have very few limited products, very technology oriented products actually, and they have trained their sales staff very well. I have experienced once or twice, and I found them very different than everybody else actually. So I mean, very unique way to compete actually. Of course, there are many other examples like Pidilite and Asian Paint in India and Southwest Airline, Airbnb. So these are some of the examples of industries which are competing by differentiation, or like Ultratech Cement is example of competing on cost leader. Okay, so what we have discussed now is about myths of strategy. We have discussed about Michael Porter's view on strategy. We have discussed about being unique, a case study of Rivigo. We have discussed about 5 force analysis of industry. How do you want to compete, on cost or on uniqueness? And what is the meaning of resource-based view? And how do you compete if you want to compete on cost or if you want to compete on differentiation? So this is what we have discussed. Okay. So I will now open the session for question and answer. So you let me see the chat. So some of the participants have asked for PowerPoint presentation. So I think we are going to record this entire thing. So the CI is going to give this. If you have any questions, you can, let me check. I have some questions. Okay, so the question is related to this only, whether we will be sharing this presentation. Yes, we will be sharing. If you have any question, either raise your hand or write in the chat box. So Viresh Shah is talking about blue ocean strategy actually. Okay. So basically, I know now what they say is, again, I have already explained you actually. The blue ocean strategy is basically when you are trying to compete on uniqueness, or when you are trying to compete on very different innovative products. The red ocean strategy is basically when you are trying to serve in the existing markets, existing segment, and the way our competitors are delivering, and you are only on competing only in cost. So that we say it is a red ocean strategy actually. Okay. So of course there are a lot of other details in that, but this is what is. So basically, differentiation when you are competing on differentiation. Mr. Birju is asking that even after differentiation, it boils down to cost. I feel very strongly that in that case, you will have to learn. I mean, as a business owner or your sales team or has to learn how to talk to the customers. Of course, that how will you, because if you have a differentiation and if your customer is not able to understand, then there can be three possibilities. Number one possibility is that your customer has not understood the value, or you are not able to explain the value to the customer. That is a possibility number one. The possibility number two is the customer representative whom you are talking to, he doesn't have authority, or he doesn't know he doesn't have the authority. So he just would like to, like, sometimes we have seen that, when this goes to purchase department, they say just reduce the cost without understanding. So that is what it can be actually. And lastly, there is actually no differentiation. If there is the differentiation which you are offering is also available by others, it's also provided by others. So in that case also it can happen. What should be strategy during COVID-19, especially global resources on the way? See, actually, let me tell you very frankly. I would recommend everybody to just go to KPMG website, and you find out a report. I will also post the link of that actually. So let me just find out that. I'm just sharing you with a link actually. This is a link which I'm sharing is by KPMG. KPMG has written a report on how post-corona, how the industries will be impacted. And they have given in this report, they have also given how different segments of the industries will be impacted. So you can find out on your which industry segment you belong, and they have given a very beautiful analysis of their based on their research what can happen to post, and then you can decide your strategy. How do we see business scenario across industries, specifically electronics? I mean, it is very difficult to predict, but again, my answer to Mr. Ankit Dalal is the same thing, that you go to this KPMG, read this KPMG report. It is very useful. I found it very useful. Read this KPMG report, and then I have already shared the link with you, all of you actually. What should be the good strategy in a product market where big brands are already cost effective and unique? Again, see, if you are already big players are providing cost effective product, I mean, it is very difficult for you to compete. So maybe you have to identify the segment which you want to cover. Do you want to cover the entire? See, sometimes it is a good, some companies also decide not to be number one, and they also decide to remain at certain level and have more profit margins actually. So decide what is the market segment in which you want to operate. Then another question Mr. Anil Ramani has asked is about, after all, cost and other factors, people are important, so organizations should look into people strategy. Of course, people strategy is very important. Even in this COVID-19, post-COVID-19, it is going to be very important. How do we retain good people in our organization? In spite of the fact that we will be having either less or no revenue actually. Okay, so definitely people strategy is always important. What are the key learning if you are creating a product with a differentiation and alternative to your own This is a good question by Mr. Tushar Datta, that if you are creating a product and that product is competing with your own existing products, this is also called, I mean, again, we have a very, this is called delayed differentiation. Delayed differentiation. This is a terminology that we use. Delayed differentiation means sometimes you have to, when you launch a new product, you have to keep all the research happening in your organization, but you have to decide the time of the launch. For example, if we see these electronic companies like Intel and all these companies, they already have designed future products, but they are not launching it because they want to still get the benefit out of the existing products. So if you have already squeezed out the benefit of the existing product, then it is a time for you to maybe launch new product, or just before that actually, just before the market has matured. But if your product market has not matured and then immediately after another you are coming out with another product, then you are just killing your own products without getting any benefit out of the previous product. So this is called delayed differentiation strategy actually. So alternate strategy, of course, there has to be plan A, plan B, and alternative strategies have to be there. We have just discussed at a very broad business level strategies actually. Okay. So I think, yeah, I covered most of the questions. So yeah, from panelists, I would now request. Okay, there are 4 questions more. Is it proper to make investment while we are facing global recession? The answer is it depends. Where are you planning to invest actually at present? Of course, most of the places we will see that decisions will be kept on hold till we see the clear picture. At present, nobody can see the clear picture actually. But if you are in, it is always, now post COVID-19, the scenario is definitely going to change. As I told you in the beginning, it is not, we are not going back to our normal. We are going back to a new normal. So if today, if you are planning to have a product or services where there is going to be huge demand after post COVID, for example, we find products which are not available at present, like for example, some of the drugs are not available even in America, or some equipments, PPEs are not available. Of course, the demand was also not that much, but now that demand is going to be there actually, because people will feel that this has to be kept in inventory actually. Okay. So it all depends, I would say. Okay, so differentiation of USP and USP of a sales team. Okay, we will, I think that is what we will discuss in another different topic altogether. Marketing, see, this we have discussed is about business strategy. Then your marketing strategy is again a different. So business strategy is about what choices you are making for the business. Marketing strategy is we are talking about how are we going to communicate for our product and services to the customer. So that is called marketing strategy. So that is again a different subject altogether. So we can cover that thing in the next another topic, which is a marketing management actually. What would be good strategy in a product market where big brands are? Okay, so this we have already discussed, I will say. And so VRIO means the resource has to be valuable, the resource has to be rare, the resource has to be inimitable. Inimitable meaning it should be not easy for your competition to copy. And O means if you have resources, it should be organized, it should be exploited. You must exploit the resources. For example, we have clients where the client have good, I would say strengths, but they are not exploiting the strengths actually. So sometimes organizations have good resources, but they are not exploiting on those resources actually. So that is what is the meaning of organizing the resources. Exchange rate and all that is all fluctuating, so I will not, I'm not expert on that actually, so I will not be able to answer that question unfortunately. Okay, I'm not expert on finance typically. I just sharing you with you what I have learned over a period of time. How can we make similar resources more valuable in terms of offering products and services? This is a very good question by Rajeshri Ghosh. See, you have to focus, you have to focus on uh, your intangible resources. That is my advice to every organization. Intangible resources, you focus on your intangible resources. Most of the organizations are not focusing on intangible resources. Uh, and you are just focusing on machineries and technology. That is, of course, you have to do focus on technology and machinery, but the way you have systems and processes in your organization, how can you make it strengthen, how can you make it such that it is very difficult for your competition to copy those systems and processes. Okay, for example, let me give you, we are working for a company called Milacron in Ahmedabad. Now in Milacron, what we did was, this is the organization culture, which is, for example, earlier days, when they used to call the customers, they always used to have call the customers in a five-star hotels. But now they are calling their customers in the factory, because the factory is so beautifully organized after our intervention. They are so confident that they feel now that if the customer comes to their factory, he or she will, the customers will have all the confidence in the company. So this is a unique thing which they have done. I mean, not a unique thing they have done, but this is something which their competitor cannot see actually, because the factory layout and factory, the way the people are working in the factory, the entire shop floor management is so well organized that if the customer visits Milacron, it is very less chances that he or she will go to other clients. That is how, so they are using this. So this is my question answer to this question of Rajeshri Ghosh. Sahil Gujarati, strategies are made as per the organizational goals. Once a core metameter should be considered in reviewing the strategy time and again. So strategy, of course, time and again you have to look at the strategy, but the choices that you make has to be long term. It cannot be for the short term. You cannot decide what I will do for next month and what I will do for next 3 months. That is not strategy. For some course correction can happen. That is a different situation, but it is always, the thinking has to be always for the long term actually. So I am requesting now this CII. Mr. Abhishek Chaudhary. Hello, Mr. Abhishek Chaudhary. Or I will just see if Ghanshyamji is there. Ghanshyamji is there. Ghanshyamji, you can
Hello.
speak now. You can speak now.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
So
very
if you
much.
would like to just conclude this session, please.
Sure. So as the questions raised, we will share the PPT along with the recording if possible. If we can share through the transparency link, right?
Yeah.
And it's still, if you have some questions or some feedback or suggestions, please do send an email on my email ID, which is already visible in the screen, kansham.khatik@ci.in, right? And once again, thank you to Mr. Javeri for conducting such a beautiful session on these critical times to understand and to make the thoughts or how to go ahead in the in terms of strategies and in terms of business. And thank you once again for all the participants for taking your time and joining for this session.
So I hope I have met expectations of all the participants, and I would like to say that let us rethink. Let us go back to our board. For every company, we will have to go back to our board. We will have to now come out with some unique ways to compete as a business owner. So maybe this input which I have given, when you are thinking about strategy in future post COVID-19, it will be useful to you some of the learnings. And if you have any suggestions about what kind of program we should organize in future in CII, please do write to Mr. Gansham Kathik, and we will be happy to organize this. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much, everybody, and stay safe and take care. All the best to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
ओके आप निकल गए ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है ठीक हाँ हाँ वो मैं रिकॉर्डिंग कर दे रहा हूँ ओके ओके